Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be doing something a bit different. I'm working on this project where essentially I'm taking my logo and I'm making it into a physical plaque or something like that for my shop. And I'm going to be, machining everything out of aluminum and doing some walnut inlay. It's going to be pretty cool, but I wanted to show you the actual CAD behind this in Solidworks because Solidworks is not really all that straightforward in dealing with image files. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is take my logo file here, which is a PNG. We need to convert this into something that SolidWorks can deal with a little bit more readily. SolidWorks deals better with dimension files, I guess, if there's a better way to say that. So I'm going to convert this into a DXF. Now I know that you can import this directly into SolidWorks, but I find this process to be a little bit easier. So I like using Convertio.com. You can pretty much convert just about anything into anything. So if you've ever Googled, I don't know why this isn't going back. If you've ever Googled like convert PNG to DXF, it's usually one of the top listings here. It's free, it's quick, I like it. I'm not sponsored or anything. So we're going to find the PNG. So logo.png, and then we're just going to go ahead and simply hit convert. It's going to take a couple seconds, and then we can download our DXF. As you can see, I've already kind of done this step down here. So we're going to go ahead and hit download, and that gives us our DXF file. So now from inside SolidWorks, we're just going to start a new part. So we're just going to go new part, nothing special here. I want to deal in inches because I'm from America. And then we're going to go ahead and just hit File, Open, and we're going to open that DXF that we just created. You're going to get this dialog pop-up. We can do a bunch of different things. We're going to import this as a 2D sketch. There are some options that you can go through here, but we're not going to mess with any of that, and we're just going to go ahead and hit finish. So this is what the sketch looks like when it gets imported, and it did a really good job of getting all the lines. Of course, this is a relatively simple part. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that this is the appropriate size. If we go over here to evaluate, measure, and then I'll just do the width here, it is 499 inches wide. That is a little bit larger than the scale of my CNC router. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could just select this whole thing, select this, go to Tools, Sketch Tools, and we could do a scale. Or the easier way to do this is I just want to go over to Sketch, Smart Dimension, and I'm just going to go ahead and set this to the dimension that I want, which is going to be, actually that's a good question. So let's go ahead and open up our calculator. So this part is going to be made out of a 10-inch piece of aluminum. So 10-inch, I want a buffer of about 1/8 of an inch just for doing contouring and cutting the edges down. So it's going to leave me with 9.875, and then I'm going to have a 1/2 inch lip on either side, so -1. So I want this piece to be 8.875. This will make more sense later, but 8.875 is what I want this to be. So 8.875 inches. And then there we go. It just kind of scales it. If you do anything else before this, you're going to ruin the drawing and it's going to go all weird. All of this is blue, so nothing is defined. You can see you can drag and screw this up a lot right now. So now that this is kind of the appropriate scale, the next thing that we need to do is I want to move this down to the origin because it's just kind of in this strange spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a center line. And I'm just going to do it right here on my glasses. And this is basically just going to give us an anchor point that we can use. So the next thing we do is we select everything, and then we're going to go into Tools, Sketch Tools, Move, and then we need to select a reference on where to move it. So we're going to select that point, and then you can see it's now moving. And then we're just going to snap that into the origin. So now we have a sketch that looks a little bit ugly, but whatever, and it is snapped directly to the origin. Okay, so now the sketch is here, it's in a reasonable spot, it's scaled, all that good stuff. Let's clean it up a bit. You see all these little things. Basically, each one of these is for, it's basically the center of each one of these radiuses, and you can see there's a lot of little lines all along here. If we go up to like the hairline, and down here in the beard, you can see there's just a lot, and you can kind of even see that this kind of bumps up a little bit. We don't really want that, because when I machine this and you do the contour on the machine, it's going to try and follow this path, and it's not really going to give us the best edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert these into splines. Splines are, well, basically these little things. They're just kind of lines that are defined in SolidWorks that really don't have a defined radius per se. They're just nice, smooth, curved lines. So let me show you what I mean here. So we're going to go into this sketch, we're going to edit it, and let's start with the hairline. So I'm simply just going to select all of this. Then we're going to go into Tools, Spline Tools, and Fit Spline. So if I click on this, you can see that it makes this new spline all the way around it. And then if I click Delete Geometry, it will actually delete the existing line that's there. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. And then now you see we have this nice, perfectly smooth line. Now you can see that it's not 100% perfect, but it's totally fine for this. You could go in there and change the deviation if you wanted to get this to fit a little bit better. Or what I'm going to show you down here is sometimes we'll have to do this in segments. So let's go ahead and let's do the beard next. So what I want to do, I've done this previously, and what I found is when you do the beard, it doesn't like to keep these nice sharp angles over here. So I'm going to do this in a couple different pieces. I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm going to exit out and come back in. That was dumb. But I'm going to select just this section right here. And you can see that these endpoints didn't get selected. So hold down Control, click that, hold down Control, click that. So now we're just dealing with this section. So we're going to do Tools, Spline Tools, and Fit Spline. And we can kind of zoom in and see that everything looks pretty good. Now, one thing is if you click Closed, it will try and close it. That is not what we want. So we're going to click away. So we're basically going to do it in this section. Click OK. And look at that nice, beautiful little spline. And then we're going to do the exact same thing down below. So we can just select everything here, deselect the spline, Tools, Spline Tools, Fit Spline, and then this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and just try OK. There we go. So now we have like one spline up top, one spline in the bottom, and it's pretty smooth. So now we're going to go to do the same thing on the glasses. So of course I accidentally hit the mute button on my lapel mic, so I don't really have the audio, but I'll just kind of explain what's going on here. We can't select the whole glasses piece because it's actually three distinct line segments. You've got the inside glasses and then you have the outside glasses. So we kind of need to split these up into multiple parts. Thankfully, the inside lenses, I guess, of the glasses are easily selected as one loop. If you had an issue to where you couldn't select it as one loop, you can just hit Control and then select each individual segment. We're doing the Fit Spline tool again, and as you can see, it works out pretty good. I hit OK, and then I move on to the other side. Yeah, nothing really too mind-blowing right here. If the things didn't work out exactly right, then just break it up into individual segments like I did down below for the beard. Now I'm trying to figure out how best to split this up. If you select everything, which I'm going to do, I think, right here, yeah. Oh no, I'm just doing the top. So if you just do the top section, then we can convert that into a single spline, and then I'm later going to go and convert the bottom into a single spline. So you can see the magic happen right here. Cool. So it makes one nice little smooth curve up top. Now I tried doing the same thing down below, but watch what happens. It didn't select the two eyeglasses because I didn't select the full entirety of them. So if we go down to the fit spline, you can see that it looks okay, but I'm adding these little radiuses there. It doesn't really like these sharp inside corners. Now, this would work for a lot of designs, and I was going to keep it, but what I realize is that when I'm doing the inlay, I want those inside corners to be a defined radius. So I'm going to keep those sharp, and then I'll add a fillet later so that it's basically a defined radius that I can match the inlay with the aluminum. So what I'm doing here is just basically selecting the lower half of the glasses, and I'm just creating two separate splines, one on the bottom of each. Spline tool, fix spline. And then we hit OK, and then we move on to the other side. And you can see that creates just a much cleaner line, and we still have the sharpness in the bridge of the glasses. So same thing, hold down Control, select that, back to the spline tool, and then fit spline. I forgot where it was located. There it is. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then the rest of this is I am just going to clean up the rest of these because we might as well just have as few segments as possible. We want to simplify this sketch or this drawing, I guess sketch. We want to simplify this sketch down into the most basic components. We want to have as few line segments as we possibly can. And here you can see I shifted it. Don't do that. And then go ahead and look at it, marvel in your work, and then go ahead and fix the rest of these using, once again, the Fix Spline tool. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. This is a new tool that I am just very familiar with. This is one of the first times I've ever imported things in and manipulated them, so this was kind of fun to find. So yeah, we're just getting rid of these additional line segments. Okay, so here is the point in the video where I realize I made a very fatal mistake. The top of the hair needs to be a separate spline from the bottom section of the hair so that we can do the offsets properly. I did the beard the right way, but I didn't do the hair the right way. I was too focused on other things and didn't really think about it, but the top section of the hair needs to be a separate spline. So I went back, re-imported everything, just selected the hair, copied that over, and made two separate splines. So now we're good, and now we can do the offsets. Okay, so now that we have everything together here, I've got my separate sketch, which is now just the hairline. We need to do the offsets. And when I say the offsets, this is basically going to be the frame or the border that goes around everything. And then we're going to use the offset tool. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this one. We'll start with just the hair, select away, click sketch. We want to make sure that we're on the front plane. Cool. So now we're going to go over to Tools, Sketch Entities, Sketch Tools, and we're going to do Offset Entities. So we're going to select the hair, and boom. So we want a 1/2 inch, so yeah, 1/2 inch is 12.75 or 12.7, and that is going to be our offset. So we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to switch view because this is nice and sloppy now. And then we're going to do the same thing down here with the beard. So go back to Tools, Sketch Tools, Offsets, boop. And then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. So now if we hide both of these original sketches, you see we have this nice frame that is perfectly spaced out. We just need to connect these two. So I'm going to start with the bottom, draw a line up. Now I'm going to do this, and I'll show you why. So we want this line to be parallel with the right-hand plane. So we're going to select the right plane and this line, and we're going to go with parallel. So now it is perfectly up and down, and we're just going to kind of extend it past, and you can see that there's this little bit of a nastiness that happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to intersect this with that line, and then we're going to use the trim entities to just kind of boop, trim that away. So now we have a perfectly parallel line. If we had not done that, then it would have been kind of crooked off to the side. So then we're going to do this on the other side. Just draw a line, take that. Now we can make it parallel with this other side. We're going to do parallel. Oops. Make sure this intersects right there, and then use the trim entities. And there we go. So now we have the outside frame. Okay, so we're almost done. We have our frame, we have the sketch. Let's go ahead and just double check some things. Let's go evaluate, measure. Let's make sure our width is good. Yep, 9.875 inches. That's exactly what we wanted. And then we can kind of maybe do, what is it, top to bottom. Overall is 16.5. That looks about good. So now we're going to go ahead and extrude this. So make sure we got the front plane selected here. We're going to take this sketch. We're going to extrude it. Let's go ahead and go back into inches. I'm going to take this, extrude it, and this is going to be 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. So that looks cool. And then we're going to take the, I guess we're going to have to go from the back side here. So we're going to take this sketch and cut it in, extrude cut, and we're going to cut this in 3/8 of an inch. You can see it's poking out, reverse direction, and there we go. This is essentially what we're trying to do. This is going to be made out of aluminum, and the inside of here is going to be the walnut inlays, and it's going to be relatively large. So the only thing that we need to do next is we need to make sure that none of these sharp corners none of these sharp corners exist, because we can't cut that with our end mill. Our end mill is going to be probably 1/8 of an inch for all of these. So we're just going to go and add fillets so that there are none of these sharp edges here. Okay, so here is our final part. I did a few things off camera because it was kind of tedious and annoying. So for all of these sharp corners, I just went ahead and added a fillet. The fillet is equal to the radius of my tool, or half of the diameter. So since I'll be using a 1/8 inch end mill for all of the finish cleaning, I just did a 1/16 of an inch for the fillet. Now in some of these locations, like let's see right there, I added these bosses in. I'll show you what I did. Yeah, so if you look at this, I actually drew these triangles, which then made a sharp point so that I could then later come back and add a fillet. Some of you might be a little confused as to why I'm doing any of this. Well, basically I have the positive and then I have the negative, and those radiuses need to match each other. And since they need to match each other, I need to make sure that it's a radius that I can actually cut. So for instance, on this, when I'm cutting the aluminum, which is this part, I can't cut a perfectly sharp corner. I can do that on the walnut, but I can't do it on the aluminum. So I need to make sure that the minimum radius is one that I can cut with the 1/8 inch end mill. So this radius matches that radius, matches that radius, matches that radius, and so on and so forth. I made all the glasses the same radius. So I just went in and basically built up, using these sketches, built up them into sharp corners, and then used a fillet to make them back down into 1/16 of an inch. So here is the final piece. I went ahead and selected 6061 as the material, and just for grins, if we look at the mass properties, we can see that it is 7.8 pounds just for the aluminum, so we're definitely going to be over 8 pounds for this total part, which is pretty cool. I like it. It's going to be nice and substantial. So part of the reason for me doing this video series on this particular project is, one, to show you kind of the better process on how you use a CNC router, but also to kind of break the myth that CNC is super easy. You know, a lot of people think that if you just have a CNC machine, making something like this is inconsequential. You know, you just click a few buttons, you know, do your little keyboard, oops, and then just instantly have a part. And it is really not that straightforward. You know, this video is roughly 20-25 minutes, something like that, and that is just for basically importing an image into here. So there is quite a bit of work that goes into this. This is the CAD portion, so the CAD, Computer Aided Design. That is the design portion. Now we're going to move into the CAM, which is basically setting up the instruction sets. So that is basically creating the job, setting the stock size, and then actually defining all of the tool paths. they're going to be actually cutting the aluminum as well as the walnut. So that is going to be the next video. Hopefully you got a little bit something out of this, maybe learned some new SolidWorks tips and tricks. The beautiful thing about SolidWorks is there's a million different ways to do everything. So seeing someone do something different is always nice. So that concludes the design portion of this video. Be sure to check out the next one, which will feature the cam section, and we'll do all the tool paths, and then eventually we're actually going to make this thing. So thanks for watching. Check out my Facebook page for any updates to my channel, and see you in the next video.